Hi there, welcome to Elm Colors. I'm Erica. On today's video, we are going to be continuing our alphabet series. Today is letter Y, and Y is for yellow. I don't use a whole lot of yellow. I have done a couple of pages where I've done like all yellow, but the majority of the yellow that I do tends to be as an accent color or, little bits here and there. But what I think that we'll do is I'm going to show you some examples of pages that I've done that do have quite a bit of yellow. And then I will grab a couple of pages to work on, and we will kind of go through how I would work on shading them and how you can use yellow in unexpected ways. Yeah. So that's it. Let's get started. So the first page I have is one that is almost completely yellow, and it is in Enchanted Forest by Johanna Basford. This one was for a challenge quite a while ago, and there's the page. Now this one, definitely it was a challenge that you could only use yellow or have yellow be the primary color. And then you were allowed to use brown. So I did a little bit of brown, but then very like on the highlights of the wood and stuff, that's definitely still yellow there too. But this one was really tricky for me because I wasn't sure how to go about shading it. But since I have this brown in here, I could then use a little bit more brown, and that helped with a lot of the shading. So depending on what color you use to shade things in for the yellow, it really does change the whole look of it. So you kind of have to be aware of that when you start using yellow. So there's that page. Let's see what else I pulled. I have another one, which you guys might have seen this one recently. I showed this on the last alphabet video. I did this one. This one is all done with polychromos, and it is all yellow flowers. I have no idea if all those flowers are supposed to be yellow, but I think this is these guys are, these golden wattle. I think that's what those are called. And then I just kind of used my imagination for the other ones. But, I mean, that looks like a rose. Roses are yellow. That looks like a daffodil. So yeah. There is my yellow flowers. And that tends to be where I use the majority of my yellow, is on flowers. So in my Floral Fairies book here, I did a sunflower page, and that is I love to color sunflowers, and this one is a very good example of how to use browns and stuff and darker, like goldish yellows to shade. And then that's kind of like that's what it ends up looking like. And I really like this page. I thought it turned out super cute, especially for being on Dover paper. That's not my favorite to color on. Here's another one. This one is one where I used yellow as more of an accent color, but you can see on the butterfly, and then on her dress and some of the leaves. Got some yellow in there, and of course that crazy background. But yeah, so I like to use, depending on which season you're using the yellow in, it really does change up how things look. I think this was the one. So this is mostly, I've got just yellow on some of the flowers so far. And then like the light reflections and things like that. So there's some yellow there. I don't know that I have, there's a bit of yellow in that. I think the majority of these ones, oh, that's the other one I was going to show you. I really like this one too, because it shows different ways to shade the yellow. So this one here has a little bit of brown mixed in. This one is just like a brighter yellow going to a pale yellow, the same with these ones up here. This one is just using the white of the paper and a solid yellow. And then this one is adding a little bit of green in. So that it's a nice way to see how different flowers can look depending on what you shade them with. Let's see. What do I have in here? I have a yellow dress, I think. Yeah. So this one, I wanted it to be very pale. So I made sure that I used a warm gray, a very light warm gray to do the shading. And that way I didn't change the tone of that yellow. It stayed yellow instead of going towards the gold or the orange. And I think it turned out really cute. It stayed in that pastel color that I really wanted it to be. This one is, let's see. So this one was just showing you the different flowers. Again, using different shades of yellow all the way through. This one has a little bit more green. This one has a little bit more brown. And then shading with different colors. This one's shaded with gray. This one's shaded with a little bit more, I think that's a brown tone in there. But yeah. Let's see, we've got this one. This one has a nice yellow background. I really liked the way that one turned out. And then, of course, the blue to offset that gold color in the background just goes so pretty together. Let's see what else I got. I think I have a couple of sunflower pages that are, neither one of them are completed, but we might work on those a little bit today. So this is started with Inktense so far, and I can kind of go in and show you a little bit of shading maybe on this part. We'll do a couple sunflowers, but you can see, I mean, even just starting off with darker yellows, you can see it's going to be a nice variation of sunflowers. Each one of them is going to be just a little bit different. The centers are similar, but each of the petals are a little bit different. So there's that one. And then I've got this one here. It's another one that is all yellow. This is another one that's halfway done, but you can kind of see how I've gone through and done, again, different yellows, all with Inktense and stuff in the background. Concentrated color along the edges, and then as you move in to the center, I think that one has a little bit of pencil already on it. So around the edge of the sun here. Yeah, that's going to be, I think that's going to be really fun too when it's all done. But again, it's just finishing it up. Once I start a page and if I get tired of it, it's not going to get done. So the other way that I use yellow a lot is definitely as an accent. So on this page, for example, I have all of these other bright colors and then just pops of yellow kind of thrown in here and there. And it just, I just like the way that that looks. So I tend to use yellow a lot as a fun, just accent color here and there. But yeah, really like how that page turned out too. Okay, so I do have several books off to the side here, and I have to decide which ones I want to color in, and you know, how it's gonna mesh with what I've already talked about a little bit. So let me go off screen and pick those out, and I will be right back with you guys. All right, so the first one we're going to do is in the Enchanted Seas Coloring Book, Volume 8 by Lacey Sunshine. This is by Heather Valentin, but it's Lacey Sunshine's Enchanted Seas. Anyway, this is a really cute book that just has tons of different mermaids and pirates and sea creatures in there, but most of them are just the character or the character sitting on something. So in this one that I have done so far, I added in a sky background and went ahead and did the rock and did her skin tone and hair, and that's all done with alcohol markers. And now we're going to work on the mermaid. And if I was doing this video any other time other than May, I probably wouldn't be doing a mermaid, but I figured we would try for a yellow mermaid. I think that'll be fun. So I've got a couple of yellows here. I'm going to use Prismacolors because I really like the way they work on this paper. So right now I have Deco Yellow, Canary Yellow, Spanish Orange, and Goldenrod. And this is going to give me a little bit of a different blend than going from like yellow to orange and or yellow to brown. So I'm going to start with my, actually, yeah, I'm going to start with my lightest color. I'm just going to do the whole, oh, I forgot to do a little bit of blue right there. Well, I'll get that later. So I'm just going to do the lightest color. I'm not going to touch the fins yet, but I'm just going to do the lightest color all the way across. This is just a light layer all the way on the fin. Okay. Now I'm going to take the brighter color. So I'm going to have a highlight kind of coming this way on this part, and then down here it's going to be right here. So I want to keep that area open, so I'm going to start at the edges and come inward from there. And this is just going to give me a nice blend from the lightest to darkest. Now this is kind of, you know, the same idea that you would use for any kind of shading. Like on a mermaid tail specifically, I would end up doing something similar to this as well. I'm just going to color this all in right here. And then right along the edge there. All right. And then I'm going to use my Deco Yellow again and bring that, kind of blend the middle color out into the outside edge. So I could totally stop there and just leave that, and that, you know, you've got your highlight there. It's still visible. But I want to add a little bit more depth. So, and that's where I always struggle the most with my yellows, because I don't want to change the color too much. I still want it to look yellow, but I want to have that depth and shading and all that stuff. So, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Spanish Orange, and right along the edge, I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap between where I'm putting my color and the black line art. And I'm going to shade in from that just a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm leaving a little bit of an edge between the line art and the color I'm putting down. And then I lighten my pressure as I move away from the line that I've drawn in. Okay. And then kind of the same thing over here. So right underneath where the tail, where like the legs are folded in, that's going to be pretty dark. And then again, right along the edge, leaving a tiny little gap. I'm not pushing super hard either when I make that initial line, because you got to be kind of careful about how much pressure you put when using these papers. But okay, so now I'm going to use the goldenrod, and this one has a little bit more of a brown tone to it. So it will kind of change it so it's not like a bright, super bright yellow or super bright orange, I guess. And it kind of just mutes that tone a little bit so that you get more of that initial yellow color back in there. Okay. Yeah, and then I'm gonna just very lightly with this color, like I'm barely touching the page, I'm gonna kind of shade outward from the areas that I just put in there, just really lightly. I don't want it to be a super harsh line. I want it to kind of be soft and blendable. right, so now we're going to go back in with the Canary Yellow. I'm going to do something similar to that. So I'm going to start on the outside edge, kind of bring that color towards the center. And I'm coloring right over top of the Spanish orange and the goldenrod that I've put down. And that's really going to help that color blend even more. I'm pushing a little bit harder on the darker colors, but then lightening my pressure up as I move towards the center. That really moves that color around. That's why Prismacolors are so great, because you can just smush that color right where you want it to go. So lots of the time when I am coloring with yellow, like I said, I don't really tend to do like whole pages full of yellow. They tend to be, it tends to be an accent color, or you know, part of like a sunset sky or a flower or different things. So when you really do, like, the main focus is yellow, it's an interesting experiment, because you kind of have to figure out where you want everything, how you want it to shade and all that stuff. So this is one example where you would use like the same kind of color family to shade. And you get nice vibrant colors that way. Okay, well, that's kind of cute. I like that. All right, and then her top is also going to be yellow, so I'm going to kind of use the same concept. So I'm going to start with, let's just go ahead and do what I did before. We'll just do a whole yellow cover, and then anywhere where the shadows would be, we'll get a little bit more color in there. Okay. I really like that. She's going to have yellow flowers in her hair, so I'm going to start with I'm just going to use the Canary Yellow for this. So on these, I'm just going to put darker color around the center and then lighten up my pressure as I move outward. And that kind of creates a shading effect with just one pencil, which is nice. We'll do that one in that color, and then, yeah, and then I'm going to make this one just a little bit different. So I'm going to use this yellow ochre color. And this is another one that I really like to use when I'm wanting to shade and get like fall looks more for my yellows. And then I'm going to use this Deco Yellow to blend that out a little bit. It's just a slightly different yellow flower. Okay, so now we're going to work on the fins. Fins are going to be really similar. So we're going to use, I'm going to start this time with the Canary Yellow, just in like the center parts and the edge here. I'm going to have this little part here, this little curved part is going to be kind of a highlight area, so I'm going to try to keep color out of that as best I can. Okay, and then let's just go straight for the goldenrod and see what that does. Just in the darkest areas. All right, so now, because I'm doing both of these parts of the mermaid in the same yellow colors, I am going to have to add in another color for shading, because you like the difference between here and here, there's no, you're not seeing any shadow created by that fin. So now I do have to go back in and add that in. I'm going to use my Deco Yellow just to blend that out a little bit. Okay, and I am going to use a gray for this. I typically use warm grays. So let's try this warm gray 20 and see. That does pretty well. I might need the 30. French grays would work as well. So here I'm just adding a little bit of a shadow so that you can kind of see the difference between. I'm going to go ahead and add this warm gray underneath her arms as well. And then down here where the fin is folded over in the darkest. All right, and then if you don't like how gray that is, you can always go back over with like a yellow. That's the nice thing about colored pencils, is you can layer things up and change the look. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to add in some fun texture. So I have this Artistro, oop, that is not prepped. It's Artistro paint pen, and I'm just going to kind of extend that up that way, and then yeah, just so she kind of looks like she's and then I'm gonna save that. I'll probably use that pen again later on. Let's do the bottom part of the fin. I'm gonna do that really quick. Okay, so I got the tail all done, mermaid's all done. I'm gonna add in some highlights here in a minute, but I wanted to try to show you a little bit about what I was gonna do on her hair. So I had the brown alcohol marker on there, and then I went through with a darker brown and added in some highlights. And now I'm using Jasmine, which is a like a muted yellow, and I am adding in the highlights with that color. And that is just a fun way to add in even more yellow. So anywhere where I think there might be highlights, I'm going to be adding that color in. There we go. Okay, and then on her eyes are going to be yellow, and her lips are going to be yellow. So we're going to do yellow eyes. We're going to start with, let's do some brown. So I have light umber. I'm going to start with that just in the corners. Okay, and then we're going to go to, let's do yellow ochre. This is one of my favorite yellow colors from Prisma. And then I'm going to switch to the Deco Yellow. Maybe almost like gold eyes. All right. And then I'm going to take my black pencil and finish up her eyes real quick. All right, next we're going to do her lips, and it's going to be the same kind of thing, except I'm not going to use a brown this time. I'm just going to start, I think, with the goldenrod. So I'm going to do that around, like, right underneath here. And then around the edges, through the center there. And then we're going to switch to the Canary Yellow. And then into the Deco Yellow. I'm just going to do the whole thing yellow. And then we're going to add in some white highlights. Okay. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but I did add in a little bit of yellow on some of her skin. I just thought that was as a highlight. And then I'm going to use yellow for these flowers here. So I'm using this Artistro yellow paint pen just to make sure that I have a nice outline on these. Okay. Those look nice. And then let's see, what else do I want to do? Oh, I was going to add some more yellow. So I've got this yellow paint pen. I'm just going to add in some like little dots on her shoulders. Maybe a little bit on her hands. Just kind of creating that, like, I don't know if it's even a texture. I don't know what I would call it. And then on all of the little spots around, I'm going to use my gold Sparkle Pot pen, but I do have to fill these all in first so that I get a nice bright gold color on top of my Posca. Sometimes the Sparkle Pops completely cover it up, and sometimes they don't, so I like to make sure that I have some white Posca underneath my gold pen. So these ones don't need it so much because there's already yellow underneath. So we're just going to add the gold in here, and then I'm going to trace along where the scales are. And the other thing I could do is, if I wanted to, I could add in some dots with the gold around where the scales are, and I think that that would look pretty cool too. Come right over top of that Posca. All right, and there's our cute little yellow mermaid. I think she looks adorable. Yeah, I'll end up doing the water here soon and adding some shading to the stone. And if I finish that before, oh, you know what? That would be really cute too. I'm going to add in some little gold dots on her eyelashes. Okay. All right, that's done. I hope you liked the yellow mermaid, and I showed you a couple of different ways to add in the yellow. So we're going to do another one. I don't know if I have another, I actually have another yellow mermaid picked, but I think we'll skip that one and move on to maybe some yellow flowers and other yellow things. So there's the first yellow thing. I'll be right back with you. Okay, next page is going to be from this beautiful Colorful World Garten Glück. This has got a lot of illustrations. I think this is all Ursula Schwab. So I've gone ahead and started this page, and basically all we're going to do is add in the fun yellow bits. And then I'm pretty much out of ideas for this yellow video. I kind of went over, you know, all of the fun shading things in the last segment of the video. So I'm just going to kind of go through, you know, I don't know how I would do the rest of this, I guess. So I've got some other fun things I'm going to add into the rest of this page. But anyway, to start, I've got my Copic marker. I've got Y13, and I'm going to color her bathing suit in this color. So I'm just going to color the whole thing in this color. I'm also going to color her hat in that color. So I'm going to do the little flower parts first. And then we're going to go around, making sure to leave the space in between. Okay. And then I'm also going to color these. I've got a couple different yellows. So I've got a real pale yellow. I think this is my pale one. Yeah, it's a little bit different tone in this one, but I'm going to use that to color in this flower here. Just a slightly different tone, not super different. And this flower, I'm just going to do the center parts of this one. Okay. Then I have this, I think I'm just going to go ahead and stick with this one. I might bring in this sunflower color, which kind of is perfect for these sunflowers, but I think I'm going to hold off on those for just a second and go ahead and use this by 13 again for all the petals. So I'm just going to get through all of my flowers really quick here. Okay, and then for my little bird, I'm going to go back to that other yellow. So I'm going to do Y04, and we're going to do his wings are all going to be yellow. And let's do this stripe along his head. There we go. All right. I think I am going to use that sunflower color on the insides. I'm going to switch to this one. So I'm going to use it on this part of the flower here. That is way darker than I thought it was going to be. So this sunflower is going to be probably the darkest one that I've got. Let's see if I go back over that with this original color, if that will lighten it up at all. Probably not. But that's okay. Okay, and then I do have a brown. I'm going to go ahead and get the centers of my flowers colored in here. So I'm using BR1 and BR2 for this. Okay, I think now I'm just going to grab some pencils. So I have tried several different pencils on this paper, and the only one that I found so far that I have within reach that works is my Brute Fooners. So that's what I'm going to be using. So I have a smaller amount of yellows than I do in other pencil sets, but I think that I'll be able to get what I want out of this. So for her swimsuit, I'm just going to take, I think I'm just going to take this number 2 Brute Fooner and see if I can add in any shading. Yeah, not so much. It changes a little bit, but not a whole lot at all. Okay, let's try, I think we're going to try a gray and see how that works. Okay, I've got this gray color, and I'm gonna see if I can get, there we go, that works better. It's still a very subtle difference, but it is a little bit of a difference so that you can see that there's maybe some shadow right there. Yeah. So I'm just going to do some very minimal shading with this this gray and the yellow combined, and it's just going to be in a couple of spots, and then we're going to add in some fun details with some gel pens. And then again, I'm going like right along the edge like I did on the mermaid, leaving a little bit of a gap, but still like right along the edge. Just mixing the, I think I'm going to do the same thing here. Anywhere where there might be some shadow, I'm going to add in a little bit of that gray. Not a whole lot else as far as shadow goes in this one. So for this, I'm just going to add in that yellow, that brighter yellow color around the edges a little bit. But I don't really want to, it's not really in shadow, so I'm not really going to add a lot of gray to that. And then for our, let's see, for our bird, I think maybe I will shade him a little bit with a kind of a yellowy orange color. Let's try that. See how that works. So this is, yeah, that'll work. So again, this is me just kind of trying to figure out how to get a little bit of depth. None of the pencils that I've been using on this page have been working well for me. So I'm getting a little frustrated. And so to be completely honest, I had started a different page before this one where I was going to try to do, I was going to try to color, I think it was like a princess page, and it was going to be completely like a big yellow dress, and I don't even remember what else. I ended up hating the page, unfortunately. And that is why this video has taken such a long time to put together, because I have, it not only ruined the video, it ruined me for coloring for a little while. So thankfully I've gotten a little bit of my mojo back. So I'm hoping to get this video and then the Z video out to you guys as soon as possible. So yeah, this is basically what I would do. So you can tell that I changed the color a little bit, but it's still not like a whole bunch of definition. All right, and for the rest of the bird, let me finish that little guy up real quick. All right, there's the little birdie. We got so a little bit of shading on there, a little bit of shading on there. We need some shading on our sunflowers. So I need to grab, I actually don't hate the way that looks, so I might just shade it with that other sunflower color. I'm going to use the fine tip on this one just to kind of get, so I can have a little bit more control. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can blend that out a little bit. All right, let that dry for a second. I'm going to go ahead and get some shading going on these other two. All right, so I've got some fun gel pens and some Stickles here that I'm going to play with a little bit. I did put some Stickles on the clouds already. I might put a little bit on the water down here, but we'll see about that here in a second. But so I have this fun, which we're going to save the Stickles till the last because I always make that mistake. So first I'm going to use this clear Jelly Roll Stardust in all of the white areas on her swim cap. Okay, and then next I am going to, on her swimsuit, I'm going to use a couple of, well, probably just one. I'm going to use this gold dual metallic because it's very yellow. It's a very yellow glitter pen. And I'm just going to fill in the circles as long as I can get this bad boy to work. So it's not going to be every circle, but kind of some of the bigger ones are going to have that glitter. And then any one that has a big black dot is going to get a white. We're going to fill that in with white, and then any lines that I did not touch with the gold will get outlined in white as well. So I feel like I'm going to need to go over the black lines with the gold, I think. So let me go back through and do that really quick. All right, that is better. Now I'm going to use the kind of, this is an Aeon art. And I'm going to use that on the sunflowers because this is a nice kind of goldeny, sunflowery color. I'm going to use that on all the little dots, and then I think on the centers of the, yeah, right there too. Okay, so I'm going to do these other sunflowers. I think what I'll probably end up doing is not using the dark one for the center on the other two. I'll use that gold again. See if maybe that, well, they'll be interesting if nothing else, right? All that sparkle just adds fun to the page. I think I was going to do stickles on those. Oops. Well, we still have more things that we can put stickles on. Okay, then on the, what else was I going to do? These guys down here, I do want to use this. It's another Aeon gel pen, and it is pretty yellow, so I'm just going to do the tips of the flower. It does have a little bit of like an orange tint to it, so when we were shading with an orange, that kind of makes that look pretty cool. I am going to also use this darker gel pen to do the center of the flower. Just color that all in. And then on this one, I'm also, yeah, we'll just do these little center parts here. Okay. I'm going to give some sparkle to the bird too, so I'm just going to put a little bit on the bottoms of his wings and his tail. Okay, what else we got? That was the other part that I wanted to mess with. I do want to use, I think, just this yellow, this same yellow. And we're going to color in some of these little black dots on the hat. Was that everything? I think so. I think that's everything that I wanted to add a little bit of sparkle to before we do the stickles. So now I'm going to grab the stickles, and there are a few dots around the outside that I did not fill in, and I'm just going to go ahead and dot those with this yellow Stickles. Oop, get back in there. I'm hoping that this will cooperate. I tend to use the clear ones a lot more than the color ones. But since we're doing yellow and I have yellow Stickles, it's gotta go on there, right? So I'm just doing little dots within the dots. And these will dry dimensional because I'm putting quite a bit of glitter glue on there. All right, and I think the last thing I am gonna do is add in some Stickles to the water, and this will be a fun, sparkly page. You know what, I might do one more thing. I just saw this. I am going to take a very light yellow, and I'm gonna add in a little bit of just a few little fun circles on the background. Nope, that one's not dark enough, so I'm gonna have to use the darker yellow. So I'm just doing a few, just kind of randomly spaced right along the edges of where the green is. And then I could probably do a couple. Let's try to do a couple up here and see what happens. That works. I'm trying to keep my hands out of my Stickles now. That is not working so well. All right, so we're gonna get a couple more circles here. Try to vary the sizes if I can. Now this doesn't add a ton of stuff, you know, a ton of interest or anything. It just adds a little bit of whimsy, and I did it. I got my finger in the Stickles. It just adds a little bit of fun and whimsy, and that's what this page really is all about. This one is super just fun. Let me get a couple more in here. I'm not even sure if you guys are going to be able to see those circles, but they're there. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fun. And then, yeah, and then we're going to do some Stickles on the water, and I am just going to really quickly just kind of pat it around. Try not to get it on the doggy. So I just basically use my finger to get the Stickles wherever I want it. And I don't put a ton on, I just put a small amount, and then as I pounce, it spreads it out on its own. And I gotta work pretty quick so that it doesn't dry before I get to it, and there's not like a big clump on my page. Nobody wants a clump. All right. I think I'm done. So like I said, super simple page. I'll kind of angle it around so hopefully you guys can see some of the sparkly fun goodness that is all over this page. Yeah, so there we go. That is my second page for yellow. And like I said, you know, I didn't really have a clear idea of how I was going to do this video, and still kind of was just playing with yellow basically for this video. I feel like I maybe talked a little bit about shading in the last segment, but the colors that I usually shade yellow with are oranges, like darker yellows, browns, and warm grays. And that's really, and then a lot of the times I'll use white, the white of the page too, as well, to get a nice variation in color. So yeah, so there is the second page we did. Here is our first page, and this one is now completed. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. There you go. So you can see the whole page. I did end up going through and finishing that, and then I've got some gold Sparkle Pop pen on there like we did in the last video. But yeah, there's the yellow pages. We can move on to Z is for Zombie, and that's going to be the next video. So thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you got something out of this, even if it was just, you know, sitting and enjoying me playing with yellow. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later. Bye!